Good morning guys, welcome back. We are working today on a delightful 2009 308 Peugeot with an ABS warning light and an ESP warning light and a whole bunch of other stuff going on. Customer states, you might as well grab a coffee with this one. So, customer states, graunches when first driving and releasing the brake. Well, I know about that one. That's because the handbrake is sticking on, so we'll need to free up the brake mechanism. Already had a poke at that. Also, the back discs are completely wrecked. Okay, so looking at the front here, these look like brand new. They are brand new discs and pads. Nice. Almost completely new. Definitely not the source of our graunch. Let's have a look at the other end. Oh yeah, here we go. Pretty worn pads there and heavily scored discs. No, it's not a good look. So the new pads and discs have been changed, the rear ones definitely need to be changed, well overdue. This is coming up for an MOT soon, so that's a definite advisory. Okay, so I'm back inside the car now, just going to release the handbrake, my foot on the foot brake still, and with this in drive it should try and pull forwards. I'm just going to I'm going to slowly release the foot brake. It didn't actually release. I had to just give it a quick squirt of power there to break the grip of the handbrake. So the handbrake is sticking on the rear. I wonder if that's connected to all the ABS stuff. Probably not, but certainly that's binding. So the handbrake mechanism needs to be freed up. We'll add that to the list. Nice easy thing to do. Anyway, now that the grip of the handbrake is broken, I think I can emulate the graunching noise here. So what this is the car itself, being an automatic, is trying to pull forwards. It's for the to stop you rolling back on hill starts, that kind of thing. So just with the foot brake on at the minute and letting it pull slowly forward under this sort of tick over power, if you will, of the automatic box, I think what we're hearing here is just friction. Don't know if that's coming across. That's the graunch. Could be it's condensation, it could be it's just a bit of rust that's formed since it's last been used. Could just be good old-fashioned friction. Doesn't happen every time. Certainly after it's been run for a while, I would suggest that means it's hot. The owner's saying that it doesn't do it. So I think that is our graunch positively identified. Nothing to worry about. Okay, so the other stuff is a little bit more troubling. I'm going to turn the power on here. Gearbox faulty comes up straight away. Then we get ESP/ASR, I think it said, faulty. Then we get ABS faulty. Now these all go out again and don't leave it in limp mode. I suspect that these are all just diagnostic trouble codes, DTCs, that are stored on the ECU, the engine control unit, but maybe not. Generally, if you have a fault code that exists for more than a second, a code is stored on the engine control unit which may or may not limit functions of the engine to basically mitigate the risk of actually damaging it, even though you've been told there's a problem by continuing to drive, for instance. There's a few weird things going on with this car. Quite a few of them seem to be related to that one circuit, and there is a prime suspect in the power delivery. This is quite a well-known problem with this particular model. I'll check that out in a bit, but it is possible that the circuit that controls all of those bits and bobs of the engine actually has a supply issue, usually caused by a rusty or broken pin. So that we'll check out in a bit. The other thing that's a little bit odd is that sometimes this car doesn't recognise that it has actually been put into park mode. So the effect of that is like turning the engine off with it in drive and then trying to turn it back on. You'll see from this central control here, gearbox faulty. When we try and start the car, place automatic gearbox in position P. So before you can start, you have to put it in park mode, and then it'll let you go. But as it's just done there, sometimes it doesn't properly recognise when it's been put in park mode. That's interesting. Okay, so a whole bunch of weird stuff going on. That position sensor that kind of tells the engine management system whether it's in park or reverse or neutral or drive is on the fritz in this car. Definitely a problem. Could be it's something to do with the actual switch. It could be it's a connection issue. It could be there's an earth problem somewhere in that circuit. Gonna have to just basically get underneath it and have a look. We shall see what we see. But anyway, for now, I'm going to plug the computer into it. I'll take it for a drive just to see if there's anything obvious with handling and all the rest of it, and make a list. So yeah, let's see what happens. But computer next. Okay, so let's plug the computer in. You have to take this little rubber mat out, and hidden underneath that is the port. Okay, chasing ghosts here. So there are a number of codes, a number of faults. Intermittent, all intermittent, knock, intermittent connection with the gearbox ECU, invalid data being received, ESP or ASR system faulty, ABS system faulty. All of these things have one thing in common, which is that the relays that control them are powered by the same circuits. That's going to be the first thing I look at. We're going to have a look at that now. The other thing that can lead to this kind of weirdness going on with this model of car is the brake switch, believe it or not, which I believe is under there. On the actual brake pedal there's a rod that comes across, so underneath the glove box there is a switch which could be causing an awful lot of these problems. Let's just see what we see. So two electrical things to start with. I think we've got a whole bunch of different problems here that are not connected, right? So the ABS thing might be the tone ring, it might be a sensor, or it might be a faulty diagnosis or a lost connection or something like that, because the relay that powers that circuit isn't getting enough power, or there's too many other things on that circuit that are drawing all of the power in that circuit. For instance, imagine that the circuit's maxed out and then you put your foot on the brake and basically the rear tail lights there light up and draw even more power. You get all sorts of screwy things going on with cars when the engine control unit is low on power. If we've got a duff connection in the feed and it's not getting all of the power it needs, that could give all sorts of weird stuff when you hit the brakes, because that's the point at which all of the control elements are in function. So let's say we're going around a corner, we hit the brakes, tail lights come on, the ESP traction control is working away, the ABS is working away, the tail lights working away, everything is suddenly applied, the lights come on, and we get this screwy message. It does look like an electrical thing, this, and I'm chasing ghosts, just going with a whole bunch of different symptoms, really not sure where to start. So let's start with the knowns, which are that there's a problem with that switch potentially, and there's a problem with the water ingress issue into the power distribution board. I'll go and look at that first. Okay, so we're under the bonnet here. This is the connector I mentioned before. It's a little thing you have to push here. Not so easy to do one-handed, but push it on the right and then the top flips over. Pushes all the way down, and when it's horizontal it clicks and will allow you to pull that up. I'm not seeing any corrosion in here. That pin at the back right there, pin 19, is the one in question. That's clean enough. No issues there. That was a known issue with this particular car. Those water ingress can corrode those pins and even actually cause them to break off, which gives you untold problems and electrical weirdness. This would definitely be easier with two hands. Go. Right. Again, looking for any obvious signs of corrosion. There isn't any, which is nice. Now pin 19, the notorious one that usually has problems, feeds this 10 amp fuse. Not seeing anything wrong with this, so I'm going to just keep that out of the way for a sec while I pop this fuse out. Let me just zoom in a bit here. That's interesting. If you can see the corrosion on that, I don't know how well it comes across on the camera, but that is a very dirty fuse. What have we got? The pin itself hasn't burned through. Seems to be intact. I'm just going to go and clean up the terminals on this, because that really is very corroded. Let me sort that out. In the meantime, I'll give this a quick basting with some electrical contact cleaner. Just leave that to evaporate while I go and clean up the fuse. I should pop that fuse in and then we'll be under the dashboard looking at the brake switch. Here's the thing, I just turned the page from the engine bay satellite fuses, just in the user manual here. It's always useful to have a look. Number 6, vehicle speed sensor ABS ESP control unit, that's the one I just had a look at here. 10 amp fuse. Turn the page and there is a listing of mini and MIDI fuses above the battery, also maxi fuses. This table here is the interesting one. So this is heavy duty fuses, and there's one here for ABS and ESP, and that is in here. So I thought I might as well have a look. I've got it all open. See if you can see anything wrong with that. Answers on a postcard, please. I would suggest that these two fuses have not in fact been fitted properly, because whoever put them in has forgotten to apply the retaining nut. So that and that are just flapping around. And that one is the one that controls the circuit for ABS and ESP. Is it just possible that what we have here is a bad connection born of corrosion building up around the bottom face of that, and or the fact that really all that's connecting there, if I zoom right in on it, you can see it's not making connection around this, it's just connecting on the back edge. That should be clamped down. I wonder, could this be fixed with a nut? Let's see. So I've stuck this fuse back in, that's all dried now, no issue with that, I think we're good there. That is extremely suspect. not even any witness marks on there to show that there's ever been a nut on it, but there absolutely should be, because this one, which hasn't been changed since the factory, still has it. There we go. So let's change that, or rather change that up by putting a nut on both of those. See if that makes a difference. I must admit here to being genuinely staggered by this. I wouldn't have believed it possible that someone could stick a 100 amp fuse back in without a retaining nut. I mean, they must have removed those two nuts in order to replace those fuses. Maybe they were never put on in the factory, maybe they've rattled loose over the years. God only knows. Anyway. I am going to refit these using a couple of locking nuts. Okay, there's a few things to bear in mind when working on these types of fuses, and one of them is you absolutely do not want to short this against anywhere on the body, because there's quite a lot of power going through these. So I'm using, you don't want to short it on yourself either, using a ratchet here with a very thick rubber handle. You could also disconnect the battery. There had actually sheared off. Maybe that, I was starting to think maybe that was a reason why it hadn't been refitted properly. There it is, snugged down. Let's do the other one. And just in case the reason that the other one was missing was that it had worked loose, I'm just going to nip that one up as well. And not a lot of movement in that. Okay, well at this point, slight change of plan. I'm not going to take the dashboard out and have a look at the brake switch. Instead, I'm going to reset all the error codes, go for a drive. Could it be? Well, I guess we'll find out. Come with me, blobfish. Okay guys, moment of truth, let's see how we did. Check that out. All of those spurious error messages gone. Now they were coming up even if the engine management unit had just been cleared down, if all the diagnostic trouble codes had been basically wiped. They were just coming straight back because the whole circuit was operating under voltage, I guess, or under current rather. And when electrical components in modern computer-driven cars are underpowered, you do have all sorts of screwy things going on. So, well, there it is. I'm going to take this for a run, and we'll see what we see. Right now, the only thing that it's telling me is that the handbrake's switched on. We can deal with that. So, no warning messages here. Nothing coming up on the warning screen, nothing on this warning screen either, and the two warnings down here have gone out as well for the ABS and ESP. Of course ESP, the anti-skid system, traction control, whatever the one that's here, is going to flick on and off as it activates, but the ABS light there is a straight warning and telling you that there's a problem. So there you go. Given that that box of locking nuts cost me I think £8.50 and there's 300 in it, I'm going to work out that that's just short of 3p per nut, so in total a 5 to 6p fix. Can't argue with that. Just a matter of finding which bit to fix. So at some point I'm absolutely certain this delightful car will be back with me for some more tinkering, but in the meantime that's it. Thanks very much for watching today, guys. I'm as surprised as you are by the finding and the outcome there, but yeah, super easy fix as it turns out once we found it. Until that point it was just chasing ghosts with a whole bunch of spurious symptoms that didn't make any sense. There it is, all good. So take it easy, I'll see you next time. Cheers.